goes this.
You've now tuned in to the Drawing Board Podcast, a powerful, thought-provoking discussion where we talk about family, relationships, ministry, community, and career. Let's see what exciting guests we have on our show today. Welcome to the Drawing Board Podcast. This is your host and founder, Andre Ebron, and today I'm bringing you salutations from the backyard. Listen, it was such a beautiful night tonight. And we just concluded Vacation Bible School at Kano's International Church. And so you know how it is. I'm sure everybody watching, my wife was in one class teaching Vacation Bible School. My son was in another class. My daughter was in the class that I was teaching. And so all these voices carrying throughout the house. And I said, well, you know what? Tonight I'm just going to stretch out, come outside and enjoy this beautiful day.
Oh, yeah.
So before we get started tonight, I always tell you I bring you quality people with quality information who have the social proof and their testimony of what it is that they present tonight. But I want to take the time to personally honor one of my greatest mentors. The first example that I had of what it meant to be a man of God, a man of God who established, it was Cornerstone Church, but now it's Cathedral of Praise International in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Today is his birthday. Happy birthday, Apostle Underwood. I love you, sir.
Happy birthday.
I would not be the man that I am without your example. So I just want to say, I pray that I'm doing you proud, sir. And again, happy birthday to you. I also want to say happy birthday to, and this is posthumously, my father-in-law who passed over a year ago. And happy birthday, happy heavenly birthday to him. Today, I made sure I went over, Brother Q. I was very intentional today about expressing my love. So I went over and I had breakfast with my mother-in-law, and I made sure I fixed up this excellent salad. You don't know about my salads yet, but if you ever get a chance to experience it, it is an experience. So I made one of my crafted salads for my wife, took it up to her job. I was very intentional about expressing that love, because it was interesting, and I'll share this, having grown up without my father being present in my life, and then at 19 meeting my wife, and then going through a process of time embracing her dad as a father, and then to lose him, man, that was rough.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I love about it is that, and this is what the Lord spoke to me, man, and we can talk about it, is that every example of a father that he's ever placed in my life, whether it be through Apostle Underwood or whether it be through Andrew Baker, who was my father-in-law, and I have an excellent relationship with my dad now, it is an expression of his love for me as a father.
Right.
And so, yeah, man. So listen, let me introduce you to the people who introduce to some, present to others. Tonight, I get to introduce my friend and my brother. He is the founder and the owner of Saved Period clothing line. You see, he's rocking it right now. Entrepreneurial ventures that are carrying the gospel to all places, the four corners of the earth. He's also the podcast host and founder of the Manology Project.
Yes.
And he's also, wait a minute, he has another one. He and his wife have double teamed, and they have a podcast entitled, what's the title?
The Relationship Decoded podcast.
The Relationship Decoded. That means you're giving us the insights on how to successfully navigate marriage in a godly manner.
Yep.
Yeah, that's dope, man. So listen, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm so excited. Just want to first start off by saying I do appreciate it and feel very honored to be on the Drawing Board podcast. Before we have actually met, I was already following you, and I generally was just enjoying what you stood for. Definitely the full God aspect, that everything that you did and talked about was moved and surrounded around God and his love. And so I really enjoyed that, but I really enjoy just the positive energy that I was hearing from a lot of the podcasts that I was watching over social media. So once again, I'm just happy to be on and appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. And again, I'd like to thank you for, man, really the stance that you've taken for God to equip, to prepare, to listen to nurture, to challenge, to grow men who to become men, but not only men, but to become a man of God.
Yes.
Now I'll share this with you, man. It was such a pleasure. It was like we had known each other uh,
I know.
when you gave me the pleasure and the opportunity to be on the Manology project. You know, coming
Yes.
on and being on the podcast with you. And the podcast had ended, and we talked for like maybe an hour or so after that.
I know. It did feel like we know have known each other for a long time, man.
Yes,
It was
sir.
just so
Yes, sir.
crazy. And the
So,
thing is,
man, listen.
go ahead.
No, question for you, man. I know this is a big question that a lot of people have, especially when growing up. I heard, Andre, you need to grow up and become and be a man of God, right?
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I heard a lot of I heard a lot of young ladies being instructed, when you grow up and you're looking for a mate, you need to find a man of God. So, Brother Q, what is a man of God?
Oh man, you know what? I think the first thing I associate with a man that is a man of God is character and his integrity. Uh,
Mm,
as long as your yes can mean yes and your no's mean no, you're definitely on the right path of showing a true godly character. Even if you can't even do it, call and let me know. That's just all part of that integrity and that character. But a man that shows character and integrity, I think you're definitely on the right track to becoming a man of God.
that's good, man. So character and integrity, like that,
Yes,
that is huge. And when we look at leadership, when we look at all these different realms or places that, you know, and specifically tonight we're talking about the brothers, we're talking about the men
right.
that men must navigate. How would one develop such character that his yes could be yes and his no could be no, especially in really a space where stick to itiveness is not honored?
Oh, yeah. You know what? And I know if my fellows are all watching, I mentor a group of young men, married and unmarried. But if they're watching, they know that what I'm about to say, which is consistency.
Oh, that's good.
So our consistency as men, we've got to step our game up. We're allowing this culture or our past to dictate the way that we should be navigating around right now in this world as husbands, fathers, leaders, and our consistency is just not there, man. I mean, we're all up and down, but then we want the respect and the honor due to a person or a man who is very consistent.
Mm,
So, we have all these breaks in our life, and I'm not saying that anyone is perfect. So I don't want anybody to walk away saying that, you have to be this perfect person. But what I'm saying is, in your imperfection, you should be striving for perfection, which means that's where that consistency comes in is that, if you can't do it, you're always calling ahead. You're always putting yourself in position to be viewed. The Bible says that your name is greater than any riches, like your name, like then when they say Andre Ebron, it should be way more than just, oh yeah, I know that guy. It's like, it should be more than just, oh yeah, the dude that grew up on, this, and this. It's like, but you really want people to actually value you want people to actually say, attach a sense of great character and integrity to your name. And the first place to really start is just with consistency. Consistency is, I tell, most young guys that consistency takes maturity.
mm.
It takes a real man to stay very consistent and honor, all the commitments and the covenants that he makes throughout his life. So, if we can really drill into our younger guys that, hey, it's really time to be more consistent, then we can kind of help this next generation of young men, get on the right track.
That's good, man. So already off the rip, you're talking about consistency,
Oh yeah.
integrity, maturity, and all of those things come over time. Let's break it down, man. Talk to me, Q. How did you get into, man, this ministry or this mission to empower and to develop young men into men of God?
Oh, dude, this is a good question. Because when God is kind of making and doing his thing, sometimes you just kind of fall in and then you find out, this is my purpose. Well, a church I used to belong to, dude, I was there for probably about like 20 something years. But there is probably where I'm going to say that the full development of the purpose that God has me in today really started. And so being there and being able to be over the men department, helping young men, shadowing, I worked very close to the pastor. So I was able to gain a lot of insight from leadership.
Mhm.
And then I've always been a person of knowledge, like ignorance, to isolate or to get rid of ignorance. All it takes is just some knowledge and understanding. So once I kind of understood that, people ahead of me, you can listen to them because basically they can help you avoid, pitfalls. So that was like really the anchor for me. And then I just kind of wanted to show that to other young people. Then on top of that, I kind of grew up, with a single mom. My dad wasn't out of the picture. My dad was very much in our life, but we did grow up in the home with my mom. I'm the oldest of 4 kids.
Okay.
I got 2 younger brothers under me. That was probably another kicker, is that I
Yeah.
watched my younger brothers kind of follow me, and I'm like, I got to make better decisions because these guys are following and watching me. So
Yes.
that really helped me and shaped me and into being able to understand that I had some type of influence.
Oh man,
And
that's whoa.
yeah,
That's a mouthful right there.
yeah. And
Like,
once you learn that you have some influence, then now what do you do with this influence? See, that influence is what start pressing on that consistency and that character and that integrity.
that's right.
So, once I kind of understood that, okay, so if I'm moving and I'm shaking, people are actually listening to what I'm saying, which is like crazy, right? Because sometimes we're begging for someone to hear, just 1 or 2 words that
Right.
we
Let me
say.
get one in.
But the thing is that God really just started kind of opening up, just showing me that, young man, you got some influence. And I've been, prophesied, and I mean, you know how God do you. He shows he puts all of these people in your life. You know them or you don't even know them, just to reassure you so that you don't fall to the wayside, that hey, you have some influence there. And so with that continuation of God pushing on me, and then I started seeing the influence have full effect, watching my younger brothers be married, still married, we all got 20 plus years. And I mean, you can see that, okay, God, you do have a purpose for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to honor this influence with humility. You,
Whoa. Hold on.
so
Wait a minute. First of all, acknowledging your influence,
yeah.
realizing that there's purpose in your influence,
Yeah.
and then honoring that influence with humility.
Yes.
Break that down for me, man.
As men, so we are created out of God's image, of course. Um, Another thing that God says in the Word is that, hey, man, I want you to treat your wives as I want you to love your wives as I love the church.
Yes.
That's another part, right? So He's always putting men in position to assert authority.
Yes.
But at the same time, when you're asserting this authority, you have to be literally as humble as the people you actually leading. Because how do you actually listen? How do you prepare, or how do you create an atmosphere for growth if you don't keep yourself humble, even though you're the head of the ship? One of my favorite things I say is that as men, we have to be as mighty as lions
Okay.
and as gentle as lambs.
Yeah.
Pretty much the same character as Jesus, right? I
Jesus
mean,
Christ. Yes,
he's a
sir.
mighty lion, but at the same time, he's so gentle with us as a lamb. So the thing
Yes.
is that he expects us as men to carry ourselves in that same manner. Yes, you could, and I'm all about creating atmosphere for people to grow, to learn, to um, whatever the case may be, dealing with whoever I'm dealing with. Am I creating a space for them to actually grow? And it takes humility from the one that's in charge to notice when someone's weak, when they're strong. You can't always be, You can't take that type of approach because you'll miss an opportunity to help someone grow in a certain area, small little areas that men sometimes get, overlooked in our lives because we're broken.
Absolutely.
A lot of men are broken.
Hmm.
Like I said, when you start mentoring and God start having you talk to a lot of men, I'm finding out that men are really, really broken. It's just that lion part of us don't allow us to actually open up and share.
That's
you
right.
know, Called testosterone. That it doesn't allow us to actually humble ourselves enough to actually extend ourselves out to someone to actually help us actually navigate through life. So once again, that's why I like your platform. These type of platforms are just awesome because men really get into this type of platforms where they can just kind of listen. They don't have to really chime in; they can kind of just listen. So, but we just want to make sure that we just stay very consistent. Like I can't beat that with a hammer hard enough. Is our consistency, man.
You lifted a great point that I would like to kind of just exhaust for a minute.
Mhm.
Is that you said as a leader or as a man that we have to produce room for growth for those who are following our influence. Man,
Yes.
give me some techniques, some strategies, like how maybe a young guy or older gentleman, he may have some people following him, he may have people depending on him, but he doesn't know how to create room for them to grow as they follow his influence. Watch this, which sometimes leaves him exhausted because
Right.
he ends up having to do everything.
Right.
So how do you create room for people to grow?
Well, the first thing you said, which is exhausting yourself to do everything. Uh, the the best leaders are people who can actually empower people to do.
That's
So
good.
that's the space that you're trying to create. You're trying to create a space to where not only am I grooming you and shaping you and molding you, but then we're going to go to the stage two to where then I'm going to be this sort of humble, right? Because you're over and then you're under, and so eventually you have to be over, but then eventually you have to step back and say, hey, now it's kind of time for you to take over A, B, and C. And for most of what you hear today, that is a struggle for men. It's like, yo, this is my project, this is mine, this is mine. I started it, I did it, I'm doing it. And you have a young son, I have a young son. So if we're grooming our sons
That's right.
for stuff that we're doing,
That's right.
and this is one of my biggest things, that when is the cutoff time? Like, because you literally could do this until till God comes back. Like you can continue to be who you are until God comes back. You can do this when you're 70. But when do we actually step back and say, hey, I want to sit back and watch what has been produced out of the covering that I was placed over, that God gave me. I want to be able to sit back and say, oh, okay, God, I see exactly why you had me doing A, B, and C for this young man, or
That's right.
why you had me doing A, B, and C for this young lady, because of look where they're at today. And so that's the part that we have to really balance ourselves as leaders. In our community, the Black church community, the pastor is the pastor, praise and worship, the drum major, the organist, and so sometimes you see that when you're growing up, and it's like sometimes you have to just, it's very hard because you want it a certain way, but at the same time, you are grooming people.
That's right.
Like I don't, if you have a group of people around you, you're grooming them for something. But the empowerment part is where it just gets tricky, because then you have to actually release it and then let it kind of happen. Listen, whether
Right.
if it whether it looked like the way you wanted it to look or not, you have to let it go, because once you do that, then God is going to take them and then do a new, not a new thing, but he's going to end up start having them become mighty like lions and then submit themselves like lambs. And then that process just continues to go. But overall, man, I mean, I'll just give you a point here. I met a young guy that me and my son used to go up to the Romulus Rec to play basketball.
Okay.
And so my son's up there, man. He's shooting around, probably a few years ago. And I'm sitting there chopping it up with some young guys, man. And so one guy just comes over to me out of the blue and sit next to me. He's probably about 20, 21, and just starts pouring out like literally just pouring out his whole life. So I'm sitting here and I'm looking at him, and then he stopped himself and he's like, "Dude, I don't know." Well, he didn't say dude because he wasn't saved. So he's like,
Right.
man,
I'm with, yeah.
what in the world? Why am I telling you, all my
All
business,
my
man?
business. Right.
And so I had to kind of let him know. I was like, well, God purposed on me to help young men. So whether you want to or not, when you come in my presence, the way God has us set up is that
Yeah.
people should, that influence that you have should press on them to release it. Like it should press on them to go, I want to tell you.
Right.
So once
To
I told him
compel,
that,
right.
what'd you say?
To compel them.
It should compel, that's right. It should compel them to say, to give you that burden so that you can actually do what God wants us to do, which is treat our neighbor as ourselves, love our neighbors as ourselves, treat our neighbors as ourselves, love our neighbors. That's what God wants us to do. So, and I just had to, once I explained it to the young guy, he was like, well, I guess that do make sense, man. He said, but I don't even know you. And I was like, yeah, that's the best part, is that you don't know me, so I can't judge you. See, I can't look in your background and tell you this, this, and this.
That's right.
All I have is face value. But see, you see what I'm talking about, creating a space. So now this guy don't know me from Adam's cat, but I'm starting to try to create this space through influence so that we can get a breakthrough and so the young man can actually get some growth. Now I'm going to tell you what, probably about 2 or 3 weeks, I hadn't seen the guy. I come back up there. Well, I was coming up there. He wasn't coming up there, but then he showed back up, and he come running up to me and was like, yo, man, I ended up, going to church with my grandma, and I kind of see, literally he looking at me like, I can't believe it. I ain't been to church in like forever. And he ended up calling his grandmother and started going to church. I mean, I don't know where he's at today, but just to plant that one seed, to create an atmosphere for a seed to be not only just planted, but actually over some weeks to actually have some growth come there. And hopefully whoever else was the next person that actually was going to speak into his life poured water on top of it. So, and that's the part I'm saying, that that's our part in our life as men, is that God has given us some heavy authority, but it takes a lot of humility to actually walk in certain types of authority that he gives us.
Absolutely. So what I'm garnering from what you're sharing with us, and I want to bring anybody up to speed who's been listening, is that when we talk about a man of God, we're talking about his character, his integrity, his consistency, his ability to acknowledge who he is and the authority he has, but to steward his influence properly with humility.
Yes.
And to be that lion and to be that lamb. And then when he understands his influence, then he can create an atmosphere, an environment for others to grow in his presence. That the purpose on his life compels people to give them their burdens, and so that there can be a level of relief and a level of growth.
Yes.
Now, here's a question that I have for you, man. Big question. And I'm sure people are here. Here's a huge one. How can we, as men, be more vulnerable with one another?
Man, that is a huge question.
Huge question. Let me tell you why I have this question for you.
There you go.
So one of my brothers that I co-labor with in ministry, I love this brother. I mean, one of my, what they would say, ride or die brothers, right?
Yep.
And it was early on. I wouldn't say early on. It was the earlier years. So we're both family men. You know how it is if you've ever worked at a church and the church is closing out. The men, we hang around, make sure it's closed, make sure everybody gets to the car safe.
Yep.
And so I told him one time, I said, man, I trust that if I was not here, that you would protect my family with your life. I said, but I haven't trusted you enough to express to you what I really feel and think on the inside. I said, right. Something's wrong with this picture.
Right.
Because I trust you with the greatest thing God has ever blessed me with, which is my family.
Right.
And I know that you will protect them with everything that you have. because I got a chance to know you. I've seen
Right.
your character, right?
Right.
But we haven't really shared like our intimate thoughts and ideas about who we truly are, like
Right.
vulnerably on the inside. And so the
Right.
question is, man, how can we as men be more vulnerable with one another?
Uh y- this is probably a tough one here, but it's all intentional. Um,
Okay.
um and then making sure this is another place where you have to create this certain type of atmosphere where men feel compelled or comfortable with releasing information.
Mm.
We're very protective of our information because we don't want anyone to gain an advantage on us. So I've just learned that most men hold that information because we don't want anyone having a one leg up on us, and it may not even be the case. It's just the way that we're kind of built mentally. When you're walking down the street, your eyes are all over the place, and I don't care if you're Christian, bishop, whatever, your
That's,
eyes are all over the place because it's built in you to
that's right.
protect and keep a lookout if I'm walking with my wife, if I and it's even worse if I'm walking around with my kids. So the
Oh man.
first thing we have to do is create some spaces where men can actually come
Hmm.
and um, and let the guard down. Um, I have a small group of guys that I speak to, probably anywhere between us. It could be 7 to maybe 10 guys that we're communicate. We try to meet every once a month to talk about anything. Now I'm gonna tell you what, this is a dynamic group of men, and I tell them that they're better men than me because you've entrusted your well-being, your thoughts, your ideas, all that stuff to another set of men. Like to come on a call or sit down and we talk together and to pour out your life to other men makes you actually a stronger man. Um,
Yes.
because basically we have to put ourselves in a position for wisdom, understanding, knowledge. I mean, this is a crazy part, right? If I told you that I was going to start a business, we would meet every week.
Every week.
Listen, 2 or 3 times a week.
Emails,
Listen, there
text
will be
messages.
text messages,
Ev-
emails, but listen, but that's to talk about business.
Right.
Don't stumble into my personal life, homeboy. But business, we will set up and be Johnny on the spot. And so my thing is that that's why I said it has to be intentional. In every set of pockets of men, there are men that have that influence. I'm a man that have that type of influence. Like I said, I just embrace it. I'm going to walk in humility. I'm going to honor the men that God has placed in my life. I'm going to hold all the information that they have given me until God comes back. You see what I'm saying? Like to build
Yes.
trust. Like this is how you build it to where men will actually want to sit down and talk. You got to hold that information with your life to let them know that, listen, we're both going to die with
With
this
this information.
with this information. And then that creates a place to where it's like, okay, so this dude is not going to try to use it against me later on. Second is that you have to really train yourself to not be judgmental.
Yes. Talk about that.
uh, when you hear information, you really got to get in prayer that when you hear people tell you something that's a little tough, that your face don't read you dirty dog. You know what I'm saying? Like it can,
Right.
you you may not say it with your mouth, but your people read your body language. They
Right.
read all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the thing is that when people feel that they're being judged, then they don't want to talk to you. You have to be understand as a man that your conversation with other men tell other men, do you hold information or not hold information? You see, like this
That's
is a
right.
whole trickle of effect is that when we're carrying ourselves, everything about our name should have some standard or high level of character and integrity and consistency. People should know that when I come to Andre, that I'm not talking about, like we both have a friend, Larry Goldsmith.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so I worked with Larry for a few years at Ford with another company called Siva. So I saw his name on there, but and I thought that was like a small world for us to know, Larry. But
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but for what'd you say?
No, go ahead. I said
No,
our sons went to school together.
oh, nice. See,
Yeah,
but that's the thing is that I should never meet up with you and then provide information about him.
that's right.
Now, if I'm going to talk about him, I should be doing that in the same space as you, which does two things. First of all, this dude Q, if he has something to say, he's going to say it to your face. So
That's
now
right.
what I'm building right now with even with you is that, oh, so that was hard for him to say it, but at least this dude is going to say it to my face, and this guy's not going to be talking behind my back. So right there, I'm starting to build this trust with you as I'm communicating, as the way I carry myself. You're already judging, or not really judging, but you're already analyzing what type of a friend, what type of zone you're going to put me in your life. When we met the first time, had already ended with, yo, some of the COVID stuff is overdue. We're going to hook up the families for dinner. We had already, listen, just from a conversation, we as men are already calculating where this guy is going to be in my life. We could be good friends, but your thought process and stuff may be a little bit skewed. So we might be cool to
Right.
meet out for bowling, but you may
Right.
never make it to my home. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And,
So
and you may never meet my family.
and you may never
Yeah.
meet my family. So my thing is that when we're trying to build these, these pockets where men can actually, release and provide, some type of a comfort where they can talk, it all stems from, a few different things. But being a podcaster, as me and yourself, that is a level of influence. We have to make sure that we guard this in humility according to God's word. You just can't get on here spewing out anything because people are already categorizing you as their listen. Right now, people are already putting me in a box on, hey, either I'm going to listen to this guy or I'm not. Either people are going, man, I wonder what podcast he has, or they're not. I mean, that's how the conversation goes. And then once that door is open, then from there on, people are still judging you. They're not really judging, but I'm more like analyzing on where they really want to place you in their life. And once you get to meet the family, I think that you've shown some consistency that matches with the value of the person.
That's right.
That's really what we're trying to do. That's what I've learned being on men's boards and being the youngest guy on a men's board and then being the oldest guy on a men's board. Like right now I'm on another men's board at at my new church. It ain't really new now. I've been there for a while, but it's a mix of age groups on there. And so now we're on a whole nother, and then I'm kind of new to them. So now I have to present myself so that they will accept and feel comfortable with sharing information. But that's really going to be how we present ourselves to each other. We use the words my brother, my friend, my this, but I mean, if I call you bro at the middle of the night to help me change this tire, are you really coming?
Are you showing up?
Are you showing up? This is all character. This is all integrity. This is all consistency. Don't use the words if you're not willing to actually do the work that it requires to hold that type of a title as friend, brother. The friend and brother, man, if we're not real brothers and we call ourselves brother, then that means, dude, if a hole is in your roof and it starts raining, you should be able to count on me to come over there with a tarp
and help tack it down.
And listen,
if you're my brother, here's what I love about, I think some of the best example I have of brotherhood other than Jesus Christ giving his life for us is when the man who had palsy and his homeboys climbed up on the roof.
There you go.
Dug the hole in the roof.
Lowered him down.
Lowered him down in the roof.
Just so he can get a glimpse.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, hey, bro, we can't listen. Hey, man, we walk with you on this tarp, bro, and we're not going on back home until you see Jesus.
That's it.
All right, what they say? Brother. They said the club is full. All right, cool. Listen, we going
up top. we going up top. And that's what true brotherhood looks like. Now, mind you, those guys doing that for him. and other men watching. Those are two guys that you want to be your friend.
That's right. That's
You see what
right.
I'm saying? Like, you ain't never seen them in your day in your life, but when you see someone have that type of act of kindness,
Yeah.
then you kind of want to extend yourself to want to know who they are.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
listen, I follow you. Like I told you, like I followed you, and my wife was like, "I can't believe you just." So I say, "Listen, when I see someone who's genuine, and I watch your stuff and I'm watching just for consistency. Is your message the same every single time? I don't care what you're talking about, but is it consistent with who you are? Because all I got is a visual of you being on a YouTube or whatever, right?
Right.
But what can mess up is that you can be inconsistent on your words or the way you carry yourself. And so, but once I start seeing consistency, I was like, well, I'm gonna reach out to this young guy and see if we can connect. Because if we can, I'm always trying to build my circle so that I can be better.
That's right.
I don't want to be
That's
the
right.
best in the batch.
That's right. You
I don't
you
want
said something that was powerful, Q. You said that when you become vulnerable and you listen, it opens you up to knowledge, to wisdom, and to understanding.
yeah.
And that is, especially for the believer, the
Yes.
greatest enemy for us is ignorance.
Is
My people
ignorance.
perish for a
Yes.
lack of knowledge.
Yep.
And so that's why it's so important, man, for ministries such as yours, reaching out and empowering men, helping them to be vulnerable, creating spaces for men to be able to dialogue, have conversations. One of my coworkers years ago, man, when I was working for the state of Michigan, she said, Andre, one day you're going to have to take your pack off,
Right.
uh, and she was saying, and that day will come because, man, listen, as a younger man, brother, listen, they used to say, one of my mentor says, son, you never let the grass grow beneath your feet. I was always,
You're
I was,
moving.
I was on the move. I was going. And one of the deacons at my church, when I went to visit him, before he made his transition, we were sitting, I was sitting by the hospital bed, and he was just reflecting over his life. And he said, you should do some of that. And as a young guy, I'm early 20s. I'm like, you're absolutely right, man. Listen, that's what the words say, we got to do. And he just looked at me, older guy. He said, you still ain't listening. And I'll never forget that. Because I was hearing him on the move.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I took in the information, and it's blessed me along my path, but I took it in as seed. So this is for my older brothers or brothers with wisdom who feel sometimes like the younger men are not listening. That seed
Right.
is going in.
It is.
And when I matured to the point that I could actually receive and hear it,
right.
it empowered me in that moment.
Right.
And so to the brothers that are out there sharing, like,
Yep.
don't stop sharing.
Right. I think you said the powerful thing right there, which is, and it made me laugh inside because my son is 16, and so
Yeah. Yeah.
like at 9 years old, me and this guy we've been hanging together since he was about 9, consistently. Like I wanted to build. I basically kind of asked God, like, how do I break that curse between the ages of 16, 17, 18, 19, where fathers kind of bump heads with their dads.
Yeah.
And so I just been really studying and trying to find out exactly how do I miss that? Like I didn't really want to deal with that. Like I want to know, how do I get around that? And God literally just said so clear. He was like, dude, it's just relationship. The more he trusts you, the more he trusts you, the least amount of he'll give you the least amount of resistance when he can trust you the most. So
whoa.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
You'll get the least amount of resistance.
Yes.
When he can trust you the most.
When he can trust you the most, you get the least amount of resistance from him. So that kind of really just opened me up to that. So this resistance come because basically there's no trust on his end. But his trust come basically from me being very consistent with what I do as a father. And so basically, dude, at 9 years old, it's crazy. So like since 9, he's 16. So like for 7 years, we've been, well, minus this COVID time, but every Friday we would end our night going to Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So since he was 9 till minus the COVID, so 15, because he turned 16 this year. But every Friday, dude, we would end our night. I don't 11 o'clock. You know, Buffalo Wild Wings close at like 2 o'clock in the morning. So
Right.
it could be midnight, and that dude would be like, "Dad, let's go." And I'm like, "Dude, you know, like the night is over, son." He'd be like, "Nah, man, let's go." But that started showing me that, oh, okay, so you enjoy. So I can be both to you. I can be a straight up, and I'm a hardcore dad on top of that, right? So I'm like really one, two, three.
Right.
But I do believe that we have to have some time to create a space. So I'm trying to create a space to where, yeah, dude, I am a hardcore dad, but you still got to have some space to where you can share with me without me being the hardcore dad.
Yeah.
So I use the Buffalo Wild Wings as a setting to start creating this space between me and him to where it's like, yo, dad is a hardcore dad all the way up until we hit the doors of Buffalo Wild Wings. Now we're just chilling.
Right.
So now we're just kind of kicking it, you know. And it took a minute, man. I mean, it was like it took about 4 or 5 months before he actually even talked. He would just sit there looking at me like, this is weird. Like, but this kind of, I made this point because when you brought up about how do we create this space for men, this is a little boy and
Right.
he couldn't even do it. Like I had to create a space for him. So they just let you know if no one has ever taught you how to create these spaces where you can actually build relationship with men, then you'll go all your life only picking people, you know, it could be one-sided depending, and most of the time we pick people based out of our past or how we were brought up or how we were raised, and that kind of gets you in trouble until you mature. But
Yes.
the maturity piece, which is what you said is, and why I reference my son is because, so from 9 all the way through, dude, I'm talking giving this dude all this information.
Yes.
From 14 for the last 2 years, though, he's been regurgitating all this stuff that I have been telling him.
That's right.
So it like blew me away that, you know, he's not even fully mature, but I'm starting to hear bits and pieces of stuff that I told him, dude, when he was like, I'm like, you remember that? You were like 11. And he's like, yeah, I don't know where it came from, Dad, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So basically, I just got to keep talking.
That's it. Planting
I,
those seeds.
I just got to keep planting the seeds, dude. So your maturity would open up the flower. Like when you get mature, it'll start pulling those drawers and getting that information for that period of your life. I just have to make sure that you're stacked up and stocked up full of information that
That's
you have
right.
something to pull from. Kind of like us having to read the Bible, right?
That's
So
it.
it goes right with the direct connection on why God said, yo, don't let man will fail you. Like, yes, man will lead you. He's going to do this stuff, but you don't put all your trust in man because he has the ability to fail you.
The
So what
failure.
you want to do is you want to make sure you're leading, but you want to be reading your Bible. You want to make sure that you're well equipped to be able to decipher what's good, what's bad, what's false, what's true.
That's
So
right.
that leader goes all off on, you know, all off. You're pouring enough of the real truth of God by reading your word that you'll hear it and pray for him, or, you know, whoa, this is kind of going, it's getting a little shaky, but God really wants every individual to actually be well equipped to discern whether someone is going right or left. Like you have to read your Bible. So the thing is that I like that part that you said is that, man, you talked about it, but when you heard all that information, but as you start getting mature,
That's right.
it seemed like it started unboxing and you're like, oh, I remember when what's the name told me this. Well,
That's
he
right.
said that 20 years ago, but you're remembering it 20 years from now that actually fit the mature Andre. You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
um I think that if we just as men, like you said, all y'all young brothers out there, man, that have taken upon yourself to be a man that actually pour into other men. Hey, we're not the whole high five you, like you. We ain't gonna give you 1,000 likes. You're not gonna hear that, but we will listen. And if you keep depositing that right stuff into people, man, it will help them along the way. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's good, man. And what you were talking about as far as referencing, um, your son maturing and hearing some of those same nuggets that you gave him back in the day. Like what I love about that is that he has an arsenal to pull from, and
right,
yeah,
right,
he has an arsenal to pull from. And for the brothers who are listening and you are mentors and you're mentoring young men, what I find, especially in my work with young men, I'll ask you, Q, is that a lot of people place tons, tons of responsibility on
right.
young men where they haven't yet made an investment.
Yes, sir. I I
and so,
agree 1,000%.
and so well, my encouragement to everybody listening, whether that be parents that are raising children, men that are mentoring young people, is that you cannot request a withdrawal or place a mandate or here's what we'll disguise it as, Q. I have high expectations, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
You have high expectations where you've placed no investment.
Yep.
Try to do that at the bank. I can walk in the bank right now and say, I have high
right.
expectations
Right.
that on this withdrawal slip, I'm going
Right.
to need 3.5,
Yep.
but if I have not deposited that, watch
Right.
this, it's illegal for me. I can do it, but it will be futile
It will
because
be.
I'm,
Yes,
I'm
sir.
trying to make a withdrawal where I
Right.
haven't made an investment.
Right. And
So,
I
man,
think
what,
that's something. Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, you're about to ask a question. I didn't want to.
No, yeah. So my question is, considering the time that we're in, COVID-19, young men going back to school. There's a big call, particularly in the African American community, for
Mm-hmm.
Black men to step up. And
Yep.
that's always the hell, the cry. Black
Yep.
men step up, assume your responsibilities,
Yep.
and that could mean a million and one things, right?
Yep.
So, man, what do we do? How do we here? Number one question: how do we protect our social and emotional health? Number two, how do we continue to grow and develop our social and emotional health while we lead?
Boy,
Yeah.
that's like, so that might be a whole nother podcast.
And so, listen, let me do this, Q, because I'm just now looking at the time, man. For you to jump into that, we're going to bring you back, man. Listen, my word to you, we're going to bring you back in October, okay?
Yes,
So we'll
sounds
figure
good.
out a day in October. But I want to lead with that question, and that is kind of like we put you at a cliffhanger, all right?
Yeah.
So the cliffhanger and the question is, how during this time, and it's not just character to this time,
Yep.
but how do we protect our social and emotional health, and at the same time, develop our social and emotional health while leading?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Q, man, listen, you have the Manology Project. Tell them how they can get in touch with you, brother.
Listen, man, we're the Manology Project podcast can be. You can check us out on all of your the actual downloads platforms: Apple, Google, iHeart. We're definitely there. Definitely making a little bit of noise. I'm very happy that that we've been able to help and to be able to speak into some young men's lives. So if you guys can just continue to help, follow, share, leave comments, whatever, man. We're on Facebook, Instagram. What else we got going on? The Safe Period. If you guys are interested in any of the Christian apparel, it's just Safe Period, www.saveperiod.com. Check it out. You might want to get on there now because I'm going to be launching some new fall stuff coming up soon. So we're about to get a little bit busy over here, man. But I do appreciate the time, bro.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
for the return invite in October. I can't wait. And I got some stuff stirring up, so your number is already on a dial up.
All right, listen, hey, let's do it because first of all, man, I need my baseball tee, man. I need my baseball save period tee. I need my
Yes.
baseball tee.
I was going to tell you that too, is that literally over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be placing my orders and all that stuff. Like I literally just got finished with a few last couple of designs for the fall. So I
Okay.
wanted to order some stuff in. I'm definitely ordering you a shirt in for that, that I promised you. But I wanted to kind of place one big order, and I had like 2 or 3 more designs I needed to get completed before I do this launch for the fall and do
Yes.
a photo shoot. And, you got to get all the
Get it all together.
get it
Yeah.
all together, man. So I apologize that it's a little delay, but I didn't want to place like 4 or 5 different orders. I just kind of want to make one big order. So definitely look for that soon.
Oh, listen, no, we're connected. So I know exactly where to come get my t-shirt.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So listen,
Yes, sir.
we're good to go.
Yes,
Man,
sir.
listen, the drawing board, we have some huge announcements coming up. We are headed for our 100th show, November the 3rd. Listen, you don't want to miss the announcements that are coming. The drawing board is getting ready to go to another level. Listen, I'm so excited. I almost want to spill the beans, but I can't spill the beans.
Hold it, man. Hold it
Listen,
in.
so listen, for all of those people who have been supporting the podcast, I take it very personal because this was something that I dreamt of doing. When you invest your time with us every Tuesday, or whether you catch it on the replay, or you comment, or you like, or you have subscribed, you are a part of the Drawing Board Nation. Let me tell you what the Drawing Board Nation seeks to do. We seek to create an experience that will change the world. Yes, I know it sounds like a lofty goal, but literally, when you invest time in someone else's life, you have created an experience, or as my boy Q was saying, you have created a space that will literally change their world. So what is our vision? We want to build a multi-generational, multi-ethnic, multiracial group of individuals that are dedicated to serving all of humanity. If you're listening and that's you, I want you to get in touch with me at info@thedrawingboardnation.com. Info@thedrawingboardnation.com. So, Brother Q, I appreciate you, man. I call you brother because I will come help you put that tarp overneath the,
Listen, dude. I definitely reciprocate that back to you, my man.
Yes,
If you
sir.
need me, I am totally there, big time,
Yes,
man.
sir.
I thank
Yes, sir.
God
Well,
that
listen.
that this relationship was orchestrated.
Absolutely, my brother. And as I always say, here's what I challenge you to do. I challenge you to know that your future is not behind you. It is not before you. It is within you. And I'm Andre Ebron, here with my brother Quentin Crumby of the Manology Project. And we say peace.
Peace out.